All right, this is going to be what would Jesus do number 3. I'm on a roll today. This is Matthew 5 and 38. So the caption, I'm on eSword here. The caption above this says retaliation. And Jesus says, "You have heard that it has been said, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. But I say unto you that you resist not evil, but whosoever shall smite thee on thy right cheek, turn also the other." And I'm going to stop there. You know, people say an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. That literally is what the law commanded. It literally commanded if you poked out somebody's eye, then they would poke your eye out. That is literally actually what it says. Or if you knocked your tooth out, knocked somebody's tooth out, they would knock your tooth out. Now that was for free men. That was not for slaves. So what Jesus is saying here is that was the Hebrew justice system. Jesus is saying he is breaking the Hebrew justice system, and he is saying don't exercise your right to justice. That's not retaliation, that's justice. That is the law, and that's what was commanded by God. And now Jesus is coming along and saying, don't do that. Why this is even more important is, again, for a free man, a Jew, if you poked out somebody's eye, again, you got your eye poked out. But it was different if you were a slave. And why this is important is like Deuteronomy or Exodus 21. This is right after the Ten Commandments. And it says, if a man, they separate a man from a servant. So if a man smite the eye of his servant, or the eye of his maid, that it perisheth, and he shall let him go free for his eye's sake. And if he smite out his manservant's tooth or his maidservant's tooth, he shall let him go free for his tooth's sake. So what Jesus is commanding, what would Jesus do? If you were a slave and you got your tooth knocked out or your eye poked out or whatever, you got to go free. And what Jesus is telling you by saying this is an eye for an eye, tooth for tooth, right? That's part of this law of justice. What Jesus is saying is don't exercise your rights for justice. Suck it up, buttercup. That's what Jesus is saying. You can say he's not saying that. If you read the law about an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth, that is exactly what it's saying. He is saying don't poke the other guy's eye out for a free man, and he's also saying to the slave, don't opt to go free because you got your eye or your tooth removed. That is what he's saying. He says, but I say unto you, it says you have heard that it hath been said. No, it was written. The law, it's in the law. But he says you've heard that has been said, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. But I say unto you that you resist not evil. He says don't resist evil. So he is outward blatantly telling you not to go free. If you get your eye or your tooth knocked out, you would have your freedom given you. And he is saying, but I say unto you that you resist not evil. In other words, he's saying don't follow the eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. What would Jesus do? Don't obey the law.